You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. And but by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match.
Do you ever get the feeling you've been somewhere before?
He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape.
Anybody? Nobody? Just me!
Let's not act like children.
And by the way,
Brought to you by Juice Burger.
Juice Burger, so juicy. Eat it, eat burger. You love burger. Pay money for burger. Allegations unproven. You're not sexy if you don't burger. No burger, bad girl. Juice Burger.
And we're back with a lot more democracy, a whole lot more Juice Burger, and a little bit of private television networks making money off of our nation's turmoil. And a 1, and a 2, and a 4, and a 7. Now it's time for the first question.
We're the richest country, but if you're living in a shed, when does the economy trickle down through the corrugated roof above your head?
he's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's had lost more jobs than he had when he began. What we had to do is try to put things back together again for all Americans.
The jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit if he can do that. We're the greatest economy in the history of our country. He's the worst
president
in history by far. I didn't have sex with a porn star.
Our nation has 8 million jobs in clean energy. Can we double it, guys, before the sea levels rise and I'm roommates with a manatee?
I want immaculate clean water, and I want air that's clean, and we had it. We had H2O, all forms of energy.
He is claiming that clean water. He ain't done a damn thing. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change.
I think I'm getting deja vu.
Every single thing he says is a lie.
Just me and the same to-do.
I've never seen anybody lie like this guy.
Have we fallen under a wizard's curse to suffer deja vu, but worse?
Just managed to complain.
My frontal lobe hurts. Ow! I think I'm getting deja vu.
You have to be quite smart.
Who signed off on this reboot?
Having sex with a porn star. And people are dying all over the place.
We're the one country, the United States.
It's a disgrace.
Was it me and you who made this deja vu? Remember last election, things got completely unhinged. How about a normal one this time? Cause I think coups are kinda cringe.
He encouraged those folks sat there for 3 hours, didn't do a damn thing.
Everybody was saying they're gonna be there. I could see what was happening. You could feel it and you could feel it. There's a lot of people coming.
This guy is responsible. He was paid to do something.
We've waited long enough. No more dawdling or delays. Let's go out with a zinger. Hit me with your best catchphrase.
We're gonna make a failing nation great again. Putin, Kim Jong-un, they don't respect him. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
No president's ever spoken like that. You're the most of an alley cat. This guy has increased your tax. The economy is flat on its back. Dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
That tracks.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
And this ain't a good sequel like Paddington 2. It's more like we're watching the Temple of Doom. No, this ain't the Empire Strikes Back. It's the time you tried to reheat your Big Mac. This ain't even Fast and Furious 6. It's more like that Home Alone we got on Netflix. I think Olivia Rodrigo would agree. This is even worse than your ex eating strawberry ice cream. No, this ain't the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers. This is Shrek Forever After when I stole 2 hours of my life. It's not The Dark Knight. It's my high school production of Grease, and I'm the only guy because the football coach wouldn't let anyone miss a practice day. And if I do recall, they finished last anyway. Now I'm on stage doo-wopping by myself. That's when someone in the back row screams, I'm in hell. I feel lower than dirt, smaller than nothing, and on the next day, my junior prom date dumped me.
all been there, right? Anyway, that's what this feels like.
Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look,
Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate.
I think I'm getting deja vu.
every single thing you said is a lie.
Just me and the same to do.
I've never seen anybody lie like this guy.
Have we fallen under a wizard's curse to suffer deja vu, but
Just
worse?
let you whine.
Just managed to complain.
My frontal lobe hurts. Ow! I think I'm getting deja vu.
You have to be quite smart.
Who signed off on this reboot?
It's X for the police now.
And people are dying all over the place.
It's in my country, the United States.
It's a disgrace.
Was it me and you who made this deja vu?
So we did a great job.
Perfect! All made sense. Totally normal. We should get together in 4 years and do this again. Ah! That was great.
Smoke yo ho.
Yo-ho, accent on the yo.
Thanks to Weird Al.
Debates are better as music goes.
Watch him to become enlightened.
Yo-ho, accent on the yo. Whoever sings best gets 4 years to run the show.
Appoint judges.
What's up, everybody? What's up, Chase?
Boy, he put that one together quickly, didn't he?
That was amazing. That was incredible. I don't know. So shout out to this channel, whoever Schmo Yo-Ho is. I don't know if Weird Al actually made that video, or I guess he made the song, but that was pretty incredible.
It was pretty incredible.
That was pretty incredible.
Welcome in, Venom Girl. Christopher, what's going on?
What up, everyone? What's up, Mom? Mom's watching.
Whoop, whoop.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this special live stream, because we just witnessed one of the most epic moments in TV, dare I say, American history, that has ever happened.
Well, it was definitely eye-opening. Although I don't exactly know why. It seems like the entire public knew this was going on.
Yes.
And
yes.
the media class had just put their blinders on completely to the fact that Joe Biden is obviously in mental decline.
I think they all knew. I really do.
Well, somebody needs to got some splaining
You know,
do.
I kind of feel like we're about 4 years too late to this conversation about how somebody's dropped the ball on this.
People have been having this conversation.
I know.
And anybody with any sort of intellectual integrity whatsoever,
Anybody
that's not
with
just
two
completely
eyes.
blinded by political biases, could have told you that this was the case.
What I would like to do tonight, I want to take a fair and unbiased look at this debate.
What little substance there was to this debate.
Oh, no, there was so much substance in this debate. It was amazing. It was absolutely incredible. So much substance. So many sound bites. So many catchphrases. So many. I mean, though there was actually very little debating going on about actual topics. But,
No.
So what I've got here is we have a list of all the claims made by both candidates, presumptive nominees, as the media calls them. And we, I would like to go through and fact check every claim that's been made, and see where we're at. Not really necessarily to see who's lying and who's not. I just want to fact check everything, and so we can set the record straight, and we can more accurately, so that we can vote for the candidate we want based on good information, if you can call this good.
I don't know. I don't want to sound. I don't just want to repeat the what I've heard, but I don't know that any way you could come away from this debate, and we'll, maybe that's what we need to do, is fill in that gap of people that really aren't going to look at this at all, because
Right.
there was one glaringly obvious problem, and that's that Joe Biden is simply an elderly man that's no longer capable of doing this. I just don't think that there's any way of getting around it, really. I do find it, and again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but 2 days ago, to question Joe Biden's mental faculties in the Democratic Party itself was completely off limits. As of last night, the second that debate was over, that all changed completely. And that's one of those times that's worth commenting on, because there's only certain times when this has really happened. Like, the one that came to mind for me was when Jon Stewart went on Stephen Colbert and
questioned the vaccine.
The lab leak theory.
Yeah, the origin of COVID.
And then all of a sudden it was permissible to talk about that again.
Even you could look on his face, on Colbert's face, when Jon Stewart went on that rant was one of utter terror.
Right.
He was like, "Oh shit."
Right. And that's not just specific to just Democrats. This happens in the Republican Party as well.
It does.
Like all the time.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just talking about in party politics when you see something completely flip on its face because of one singular instance like this, or one singular thing. The amount of times that happens is not very many.
I will say, though, from someone looking down, looking down on both parties, because I'm not associated with either one. I don't vote party. I vote principle. I vote policy. The Democrats deal with this a lot more than the Republicans do. The Republicans,
I feel like they do in recent years, especially.
Yes,
but the Democratic Party or the Republican parties has their fair share of it as well.
They have, especially in the distant past. But in the right here, right now, the Democrats do it a lot more, and it's. I don't know that that's a good thing or a bad thing, because the Republicans seem to double down on some really dumb things, rather than because changing your mind when faced with new information is actually a good thing.
Sure, absolutely.
But so
it is a good thing. That was kind of where I was going with that. But it just sometimes in politics, it's just so frustrating that it takes a moment like this for everybody to, but it's not even that people, like we were talking before this, it's not even that people didn't recognize it.
Right.
It's that I don't think any of them either had the permission to say it, because I think that if they said it and they were in that inner circle in any way, shape, fashion, or in the media, then they would be persona non grata. I think that's what they're afraid of. I do think, from what I've heard from people, I do think Joe Biden, again, even just taking a step into talking about if they try to replace him, I think it's going to be very difficult, because Joe Biden, in his political heyday,
was a terrible person.
Well, he
is a terrible person.
He's a very prideful guy. You know what I mean? I would dare say maybe borders a little bit on arrogant.
I dare say he's a despot and he won't give up power. That's what this is. He will not step aside.
I don't think he will either.
No.
But I don't know that it's necessarily because of that. I mean, I think he's always kind of been that we'll show him. We'll show him. Everybody's doubting me. That's what I am. I'm Joe. I'll step up to the occasion or whatever. And I think if he probably thinks in his head, what little of him I think it is
still there.
I do think he has his mental. Let me make it clear. I do think the guy has his mental faculties to the point where he knows.
I don't.
What he's going. I do.
I think he's out.
But I don't. To put him on a debate stage,
it was hilarious.
Was just the craziest move you could possibly do.
I know.
But
it was.
I don't know, man. But
it was. Do you want to watch some of it? You want to get into some of it?
Yeah, let's get into some of it.
Alrighty. Here we go.
Is at the model.
So I've got all the tabs here pulled up. All of these tabs. This is all the stuff that is claimed in this debate, so we can fact check it in real time. Not in real time because the debate's already happened, but you know what I mean.
Moderator's discretion.
When it's time for a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on, and his opponent's microphone will be turned off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes, props, or contact.
By the way, this was a brilliant idea. The no studio audience, the no interruptions, cutting their mics off. This was fantastic.
Well, I think they thought that was going to be in favor of Biden.
I think so too.
And I think it backfired way back. And especially the split screen that they do the entire time.
Yeah.
You just get to see him in real time, kind of looking completely just lost.
Yeah.
You know, or
campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation to debate, both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Folks, how are you?
this is where it began to go off the rails right from the beginning.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
He barely acknowledged them.
Yeah, I know.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President?
Look at the man's face already, dude. And Trump makes a lot of awesome faces in this too, so we're going to get to that, but man.
See, even just, he walked in, he looked like a feeble old man.
He is.
And then the first shot of him they get when the actual debate starts, he looks completely like a deer in headlights.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Go ahead.
President Trump.
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right.
Oh, I want to fact check that real quick. Inject a little bleach into your arm is what he said. I forgot to pull this one up. Did Trump say inject bleach? PolitiFact says no. Trump did not tell. Mostly false. Okay. On COVID-19, Donald Trump said that maybe if you drank bleach, you may be okay. No, Trump did not tell Americans infected with the coronavirus to drink bleach. So yeah, that's immediately out the gate. That's
what did he say? He was trying to refer in one of his
Here is
rambles.
His full comments. A question that probably some of you are thinking is if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposedly we hit the body with a tremendous...
You got to read it like Trump, Josh.
I can't. Whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light. And I think you said it hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposedly you brought to light, it said the body in which you could either through the skin or some other way. And I think you said that you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. I don't know. But yeah, he continued. Okay, here's the and then I see disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And there's a way we could do something like that by injection inside or almost cleaning, because you see it gets in the lungs. It does tremendous number on the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that. So you're going to have to use medical doctors with, but it sounds interesting to me, so we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful. So yeah, he did not say to inject bleach. Yeah, there we go.
All right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out a position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table is the thing.
Fact check: he did not work in the office.
Okay. I didn't remember him being a character. But.
Things weren't able to be met during the month. It was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we can.
How can the government build 2 million new houses and reduce the prices of housing?
Because
all I've heard is that the government does not control the prices on things.
Good question.
Cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination of what was left with in corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year.
All right, pause that.
Okay. Alrighty, let's see.
How much is the
here.
cost of an insulin shot today?
Did Biden temporarily freeze Trump rule lowering insulin EpiPen prices? This is Snopes. And actually, this is Trump that made the claim. I kind of jumped the gun on this one. The price of insulin today, the cap, I believe, is $400. I'll have to check. Let me look. Insulin prices. Oh, there it is. Trump versus Biden. Let's just... Alrighty, here we go. CNN. Trump falsely claims Biden didn't lower Americans' insulin costs. Did he? I don't like. I just want to know. Did he?
Well, the average cost. Did he just say that the average cost of an insulin shot is $15?
Yes.
Because that's completely wrong. The average cost is $45.
Okay. Biden is right about the $35 insulin cap, but according to PolitiFact, this is what I wanted. Just tell me what it is. Insulin for Medicare beneficiaries was costing $400 a month on average. Now it costs $35 a month. So he was right about the $35 insulin cap, but he exaggerates prior cost for Medicare enrollees. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price of around
insulin for all.
The kitchen table,
even if you don't need it.
Get done.
Thank you, President Trump.
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well.
Did we? Did we have the greatest economy in the history of our country?
Sure.
Economy.
Trump speaks in sometimes very broad
hyperbole
too. Yes. So he's talking about. I mean, how do you even measure that? In what sector of the economy? And
that's a great question.
That's
a great question. PolitiFact. We'll just roll back to PolitiFact, even though I'm sure they're biased in some way, but that's okay. I mean. Who did a better job? Let's see. Did they give us? Okay, here's the jobs growth. And that's all Clinton, Obama, George W. Bush, Biden. Where's Trump? There's Trump. Okay, and then here's where the pandemic happened, I'm assuming.
Right. Which, again, that's not even like, how do you even compare the two at that point? I mean, you're dealing with a pandemic. So I think we chalk some of this up to there's things that both of these guys are going to say that are completely unmeasurable. And if they were, you'd have to have a lot more specific question than just, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep. And that being said, maybe I shouldn't stop every time they say something and try to fact check it, because that
yeah, that's going to take forever.
That is,
so,
yeah.
But
Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many.
Okay, yeah, I got to push back on one thing you said there. I do truly think a lot of the inflation that we saw, especially in 2021 and 2022, was a direct result of the emergency spending from COVID.
100%.
Yep.
The government just opened up the pocketbook
yeah.
and dumped it out during that time.
Yep, they sure did.
So
no new wars, though. He was right. No new wars. I was a big fan of that.
Yep, me too.
The other things, everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the
Rockin'.
credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back.
I don't think he did.
A country where the stock market actually was.
I think that
higher
was
than
the
pre-COVID,
states,
and nobody thought that was.
I think it was the
control
states
of that,
that had
for sure.
control of that. Yeah.
Was even possible.
I think
The
maybe
only
what
jobs
he might have been
created
talking
were
about was like the
illegal
vaccine
immigrants
passport
and bounce
push
back
and
jobs,
some of
the
that
bounce
type
back
of
from the
stuff. You know
COVID.
what I mean?
He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you, President Biden.
That's true.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term.
Okay, pause. Is he really trying to use that? He had the biggest tax cut in history, and he's using that to argue against.
So Biden says that now, but then when Trump says he had the biggest tax cut in history later on in the debate, Biden says he doesn't. But you just heard it right there. Biden said he did.
Right.
Which I actually looked it up, and he did not. Once it's adjusted for inflation, it is not the biggest tax,
But again,
even by
that's
percentage.
But again, that's one of those things. It's okay. You had the largest tax cut. Who did it cut taxes for? I think it really realistically cut taxes for basically everybody, but also corporations.
It was the largest corporate tax cut in American history. That is true.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true. It did cut individual income taxes.
But when you say but even when you say corporate tax cut, that's not all. You're not always talking about Fortune 50 businesses. You're talking about my business taxes went down.
Exactly. Yeah, mine did too. All corporate. That's LLCs. That's everything.
Yeah. So that's often one of those broad generalizations that Democrats make. It's like, oh well, you know, you're cutting taxes for the wealthy. Well, I have a small business. I'm not living high on the hog.
Right.
You know, like what about these people that have... I think small business in general gets shafted big time when it comes to these things. Because they're caught up in the... And like, even if you're like I employ like basically up to 10 people. Mm-hmm. But like, even a business that employs 100 people really is still a small business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like, who are you really talking about here? You know,
right?
It's just automatically assumed that this is all your corporate greedy fat cats or whatever, but that's not the case,
right?
Either,
right?
So again, how do you these? That's what irks me about these debates in general is that a lot of this stuff is said in broad generalizations. That
it is
that you're like, okay, well, what metric are you measuring that on? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or what exactly are you talking about here? You know?
Yeah.
There's gray area in all of this. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea...
That was because of COVID.
He did something that was significant. And the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world.
Whoa, that's a big statement. I didn't catch that last night when I was listening to it. That's a big one right there. The Heat now does not have any troops anywhere in the world dying.
That's a huge... Again, a giant generalization.
That can't be true. That can't be true. We're still actively fighting in many areas of the Middle East, are we not?
Again, we've ended.
Alex Westphaler says 13 at Abbey Gate. 3 in Jordan. We got Alex Westphaler on here helping us out.
I find that to be.
There's no way that could be true.
We're all over the world, everywhere.
Yeah.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others.
China.
In all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce-back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. Now, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they would.
You did too, Trump. I got to stop you there. You did too. He did.
Oh, yeah.
He did.
Doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the
Can you
national
stop me for 1
debt
second?
soared to...
Real quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's still raw for me. Like our age people, like our friends went over there and fought those fucking wars.
I know. We did.
Excuse my language,
Yeah,
but it's the truth.
Yep.
They fought that. We were in Afghanistan from the time we left high school.
Yeah.
Until just a couple years
Until
ago.
that.
And what do we have to show for it?
Oh, absolutely. Well,
our friends died,
Yeah.
Josh. Our friends. Alex's friends.
Yep.
Died. And that's how we left it.
Yeah.
That is complete and utter bullshit. And the fact that nobody has taken responsibility for that really, really irks me.
I agree with you. But you got it, man. That's how we've left every proxy war. They've all been the same.
And by the way, he says, okay, well, we don't have anybody dying anywhere in the world. Well, how about you're funding a proxy war in Ukraine that's killing literally an entire generation of young Russians and young Ukrainians?
It's not U.S. troops, I guess. So
it's not U.S. troops. So
yeah.
yes, technically that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But you're funding stuff where everybody's dying.
Dude, we've sent them more money since the Ukraine war has started. That we've sent them more money. We've sent more money to Ukraine. Sorry, I've been up for like 28 hours now, so you'll have to bear with me here on this, folks. I worked last night, and I've not been to bed yet. We've sent more money to Ukraine since the war has started than we have sent to Israel since the dawn of the United States.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
All right.
record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis,
Look at their faces. Trump's grumpy old man and Biden's lost.
Yeah.
President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it. Something which,
I mean, I don't know. His administration only had a year of the pandemic.
Well,
and Biden's had
number one, the government doesn't ultimately at the end of the day doesn't control who lives and dies.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't control viruses. They think for themselves.
Right.
What's the other thing that they're saying there? Okay, so trickle down economics is a bad word to a lot of liberals.
It's well, that's a buzzword.
It is a
buzzword,
buzzword, but quite honestly, when you look at historically, like take for instance what the Republicans have done in North Carolina, and I'm not stumping for the Republicans. I'm not a Republican,
right?
But when you have Ralph in here, I mean they've cut taxes tremendously, corporate and income tax. I mean, it's set to go under, what did Ralph say? It's set to go under 2% like next year, I think. And with the ultimate goal of eliminating income taxes. It was 7% back before the Republicans took control. There is real economic data to support that when you start cutting corporate taxes, the economy roars back in a big way. It's just the way it is. And that, like it or not, trickles down in the form of jobs, that those jobs create. Everything starts doing, personal income, personal spending goes up. I don't know how you get away from that reality. Like, it just happens. Like, that's just the way it is, And I'm sure there's huge caveats to that. I'm not saying.
Yeah, sure. There are. My only thing I would add was, in addition to, I mean, this is pipe dreams, but I'm not fact checking anything now. I'm just saying what I think. I would rather, I would like to see, in addition to that, income taxes, personal income taxes, cut equally.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world.
I agree with you, Alex. Flat tax. Flat tax.
Yep.
No longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country, and I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy.
I think that's true. Just by raw numbers, he absolutely did. But again, I wonder how much of that is COVID spending. Because again, I don't think you can, in all fairness to Trump, I don't think you can count that against him, because that was just completely came out of the blue. You know what I mean?
Trump's national debt before COVID. We'll go before COVID. According to The Hill, Trump added $8.4 trillion to the national debt over the 10-year budget window, according to a study released Wednesday by Top Budget Watch. Oh my God, go away. Wow, that's a lot. I don't know if that's the most, but that's a lot.
I think they said earlier, or Jack Tapper said earlier, that his was just over $4 trillion.
And that was one of my biggest critiques about Trump, was his spending.
Yep.
What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires.
Yeah, we've heard that.
I mean, billionaires.
1,000 trillionaires.
1,000 trillionaires. Really? Okay, cool.
Let's name them.
And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes.
That's not true. That's not true. They pay, according to PolitiFact, the average tax for billionaires is about 3%, which is lower tax than a high school teacher or firefighter. That's what he said in 2023, and now this is different now, but
Same,
he said
along
8%.
the same line. Yeah.
So it looks like, I think I read down here it was 22%. Yeah, okay. So what is the actual tax burden under the current tax code for the wealthiest Americans? The IRS data from 2019 shows the top 1% of taxpayers paid an average federal income tax of 25.6%. A more elite group of the top 0.001%, which in 2019 meant people earning about $60 million or more a year, paid 22.9%. So
that's
23%.
Not even close.
No, not even close.
Okay.
If they just paid 24%, 25%, either
They pay 23.
one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our health care system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
Oh, my God.
If we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
They saved him there. They were like, okay, thank you. That's enough.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed.
Just look at him, though,
Foreign
right there.
countries, I'm friends with a lot
He's
of people.
facing the wrong
They
way.
cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion pill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look
I was shocked to hear him say that.
I wasn't.
at this whole question that you're asking, complex but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives. Everybody wanted it back.
That's not true.
Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states.
Killing Roe v.
Wade. That everybody wanted. You know, 10
That's
years ago,
quite a way to put it, isn't it?
about how many weeks and how many this, and getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout
Aborted
the world,
Roe v. Wade.
most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
I agree completely with that.
I do too.
This is one issue I've agreed with Donald Trump on from the very beginning. He's been very consistent in this. And he, of course, abortion is one of those things that neither political party wants to let go of.
Right.
Because it very much polarizes people to one side or the other. I'm convinced increasingly more, almost by the day, that abortion is simply an issue that the two-party system uses to divide Americans deeply.
It does.
And it bothers me.
Yeah.
It really bothers me because the simple fact of the matter is that there's a solution to this problem. Europe has figured this out a long time ago.
Yeah.
There's the middle ground here is that within the first 2 trimesters, within the first trimester, there's a certain time into that you can have to abort, including, Plan B pills, things of that nature. Once you have a viable embryo in there and you're a viable carrier, then that needs to be carried to term and under medical supervision. If you want to have the option to, adopt, put that kid into an adoption situation, the state should help you do that. Past a certain point in the 3rd trimester, obviously that's late-term abortion. You don't want to, but anything outside of the womb is ridiculous. With the exception, in those late terms, with the exception, again, of in cases of incest.
We'll get to outside the womb here in just a minute. My thing about abortion is I have one question. Why do I have to have an opinion about it?
Good question. Why
do I have to have an opinion? Because my thoughts are 2 things can be true at the same time. A woman does absolutely have the right to have autonomy over her body. On the flip side of that, you're still taking a human life. 2 things can be true at the same time.
Sure.
I don't have to have an opinion. I reserve the right to not have an opinion on that, one way or the other.
But what I'm saying is there's even a way for the state to confront this problem. This is not an issue, a hot-button issue in Europe.
No, it's nowhere else in the world except maybe, like, I don't know, Kyrgyzstan or some.
Well, obviously
country.
these theocracies or whatever. But this issue is not
right.
This contentious anywhere else in
it's
the world
not
here.
No.
That's what you just need to understand that other countries have figured out the middle ground.
Right.
So, anyway.
Some people don't. Follow your heart, but you have to get elected also, and because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected.
See, dishonest,
the problem they have
you got to
is
get
they're
elected.
radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine.
Okay, let's fact check that. Did he say that? Did he say that? I have that pulled up. Somewhere. All these. I wish I had labeled these. Where is it? Is it PolitiFact? Well, that's just a blank. There it is. Let's see what he says. He says, quote, the infant will be delivered, the infant will be kept comfortable, the infant will be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desire.
No exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on 3rd trimester abortions as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I will tell you first thing I would say, this is why decisions such as this should be.
Anytime you hear a guy with that kind of accent, you know you're going to get a real good hot take on abortion.
Made by providers.
Listening to us talk too, right? Because that's how we sound, exactly. I'm sure.
Physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about 3rd trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again, we want the government not to be involved in these types of decisions. We want.
I agree with him. The government shouldn't be involved in healthcare decisions. But so to resuscitate a child or to deliver a child into the world and then have a conversation on whether the child gets to live or die, that's fucked up.
Yeah, that's not.
No matter what your
murder.
thoughts are on abortion, that's insane. But yes, he did say that. Okay, so there's the video. I'll watch it. I'll continue to the end.
The decision to be made by the mothers and their providers, and this is why, Julie, that legislators, most of whom are men, by the way, shouldn't be telling a woman what she should and shouldn't be doing with her body.
And do you think multiple physicians should have to weigh in, as is currently required? She's trying to lift that requirement.
Well, I think it's always good to get a second opinion, and for at least two providers.
Says the white male who's telling women what they can and can't do with their body.
To be involved in that decision, because these decisions shouldn't
It's
be
such a
slippery
slippery
slope.
slope.
So, I would certainly support more than one provider.
It makes me
All right,
uncomfortable
let's
just to
go
talk
back to
about
the
it at all.
phones now for the governor.
Well, I'm talking about him.
Yeah. No, it makes me uncomfortable talking about it, even
I don't
just
care.
a dude.
I don't care.
Determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
No, they're
Thank you.
not.
President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And
I did never think Roe v. Wade would be overturned, though.
No, I didn't either.
I was shocked to have
And
it.
this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule.
Okay, so the states are not capable of making decisions equally
Concerning civil rights.
as the federal government?
Well, you're going into what Alex is saying in the chat here, that this is the two versions of America that exist. On one side, you have a democracy, and the other one you have a republic, constitutional republic. So, yeah, there's this goes back to what I've said for forever, that we have people now. We have three factions that live in three separate realities.
There's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that.
Okay,
What the hell is he talking about?
I don't know. And then why in the world would you bring up?
What is he talking about?
Yeah, I don't know how we got there from abortion.
There's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, It's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross.
He's been watching way too much incest porn.
I didn't follow him at all right there.
Many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border.
It's
We
just
have
like
a border
here,
that's the
softball.
most dangerous place
Oh, my
anywhere in the world.
God.
Considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is
They are
concerned,
raping
it is
and
now
killing
back with the
women,
states. The
unfortunately.
states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted it brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody.
I know what the founders would have wanted.
That's a pretty bold statement there. But then again, it's Donald Trump, so he's no stranger to bold statements.
Presidents had tried to.
They would have wanted it. They would have wanted it this way. Trust me.
This gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President
I don't
Biden,
think that's true.
No, I don't either.
I'll let you do that. This is a state topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any
He looks mad.
Well, he looks
limits
mad
on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3.
Oh my God, that goes back to old Frankenstein when he was debating. That was just up there. Do you remember how I'm talking about? The was it a senator that had a stroke? Real big, tall dude.
Oh, Fetterman?
Yeah. Where he was just like, Roe v. Wade. Roe v. That's exactly what that reminded me of.
3 trimesters.
Who, by the way, is way more coherent than this guy.
Yes.
First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between
a doctor and an extreme situation.
Between the woman and the state. The idea that
what is he talking about?
The woman and the state.
The founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those.
Notice
decisions.
That's what
you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
Okay, hang on. I got to say this though. But by even restoring Roe v. Wade, he is a politician making decisions on what a woman can and can't do with her body. So that statement in itself is
a falsity.
Yeah.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
I don't know anybody that's in favor of that, really.
I don't know anybody.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are
That's not true either.
Late-term abortion, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radical.
Okay, hold on.
So,
I think we're on the same page here.
Yeah.
We're on the same page here. So under Roe v. Wade, the states can do whatever they want. And we think that's a bad thing, but he put it back to the states so they can do what they want. Are we on the same page?
It's double speak. Yes, 100%.
Okay, so we both had that.
It's double speak on each one of their parts.
I know.
Radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken.
Who were all white males, I may add.
Right.
Away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position.
Okay, that's a bold statement. They did not. I have the tweet pulled up here from the Border Patrol Union today. Says, to be clear, we never have and never will endorse Biden. That was not true, and that was a pretty bold statement there. So that's fun.
In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages.
Just like Obama did. Obama did the same thing, actually, a lot more.
Making sure the families were separated.
And cages is a little hyperbolic. I mean, you're separating. You have to separate them from from the children from the adults, because if the adults are committing a crime and they're being put in jail to be held in a cell until they are processed and either deported or whatever happens to them, you can't take your child with you. Like, if I was to get arrested for doing 120 miles an hour down the road and I have my son with me and they arrest me, they're not going to let him go to jail with me unless he too is going 100 miles an hour down the road.
That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office.
That is not true. Not true. There is not 40% less people coming over the border than when Trump left office.
No,
there's probably 40% more.
Did you see where the Border Patrol?
Yeah, I just showed. I just showed the tweet on air.
Yeah,
on
the Border
on the
Patrol. Yeah,
yeah. They were like, "No, we did not. We have never supported him."
And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
Alex Whisper says, I've spent $5,000 on 2 attempts to bring my girlfriend from the Philippines here on a tourist visa. Denied both times in 30 seconds, not even looking at the paperwork, even with Senator Tillis' Office of Communication. Dude, just let her come through Mexico.
We had the safest border in the history of our country.
Problem solved.
All he had
Coyote.
To do is leave it. He decided to open up our our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions. And
just to be clear, Alex, I'm not suggesting you should use the cartels to smuggle your girlfriend into the country. That's terrible. I was joking. I wish you all the luck there.
Again, the biggest problem with immigration, you can talk, is fix the damn immigration system. It's not that hard.
Right.
Honestly, it's not that hard. We can process people. Let them come through the front door. That's all we need to do.
Terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now. All terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just...
Again, unmeasurable.
And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that.
You ever notice that a lot of these issues... Have you ever noticed that a lot of these issues they're talking about literally because we have do nothing Congress and we haven't passed significant bipartisan legislation since like Bill Clinton.
Right.
What you have is it's like 2 oligarchs. Mm-hmm. Because you rule via executive order.
Welcome. I've been saying this for years.
Yes, exactly. I mean, but that's what it is. Yeah. Congress should be making these issues.
Yeah.
They should be making these bills.
Yep.
Fine if if they want to, if the president wants to sponsor a bill or whatever, that's fine. But Congress needs to be passing immigration reform, not just executive orders that do nothing and expire anytime. See, Donald Trump was making great, from everything that I've seen, and I've listened to a couple of podcasts from 2 different border agents, and both of them seemed like very level-headed guys that had been in the agency for a long time, and they both unequivocally said, look, this is not a political thing. I'm just telling you the best time to be a border agent was under Donald Trump. We got what we needed to do our job. Morale was high. Right. Boom, boom, boom. Well, the problem with that is all those changes were instituted via executive order. So the second that Joe Biden came into office, he threw all of that out in a big political move to do it, which threw it back into turmoil again, and erased any progress we had made.
It did.
Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we have the safest border in history.
I thought I caught that. I thought I heard that.
There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
President Trump.
But then he just looks...
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed 3, and his administration, killed Al-Qaeda.
His administration.
And his administration, killed 3 American soldiers, killed 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists
died like
in the world.
a dog,
and it had a huge impact on everything, not
huge.
just border, on everything.
Had a huge impact.
He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these 3 incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and
this is true. This happened.
he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans.
All right, they're living. That's a bold statement there. I fact checked this, and I got 2. So the fact checkers say that they're not living in luxury hotels, according to this fact check list here. But what I found, and this was Bloomberg. Where is Bloomberg? Right here, Bloomberg says that and this was well before the debate. This article is from June 9th, 2023. So this is not a response to that statement. Bloomberg reports that where was it? I just lost it. Shit. Okay. The hotels range from seedy, quote, hot sheets rented by the hour to historic century-old Midtown Manhattan palaces that have made cameos in Hollywood movies. They're helping us house the more than 72,000 migrants who've entered through the 5 boroughs over the past year from Venezuela, El Salvador, and other Latin American countries. It is a feature of the emergency procurement that you pay through the nose. City Comptroller Brad Lander said of the city's arrangements with hotels. If you could reduce the cost of hotel rooms even modestly, it would save us a lot of money. So that's when they were begging the hotels to lower prices for because the New York government was paying for these people. So
I watched a piece the other day. This kind of along the same subject, but. Most of these I think are, Latin American folks and Mexican folks and stuff. Central American folks. They talk about the Chinese people that are coming over.
Yeah.
I had no idea this was going on. This is out in like Nebraska, Iowa.
Yeah.
Places. I watched a whole documentary about these illegal pot farms that are going on.
No shit.
And they're almost all run by Chinese companies that have bought these pieces of farmland, and then they put these giant buildings on them out in the middle. They'll buy like a 500-acre tract of land, put like a couple big buildings right smack dab in the middle of it, and a gate around the whole thing. And what they do is they smuggle these Chinese people in there to man these pot growing farms.
Oh, wow.
And it's like these illegal pot growing thing. And like this, it was so bad that the reporter got in the car with this farmer. It's like, yeah, we got one next door. I'll take you over there and show it. They like drive by it and they're like looking at the people and all this stuff, and they all kind of start to just like scatter. It's wild. I had no idea that was going on, but apparently it's like an epidemic. Like, everybody wonders why these Chinese companies are buying this land, and that a lot of that's what's going on. It's these illegal pot growing farms.
Sounds like China needs a little bit of integrity.
Yeah, integrity.
A little integrity. Integrity Farms.
He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all, and he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did, and I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single.
So from here on out, every time Biden responds, he says everything he says is a lie. I've never heard so much lie. That's what we're getting into now.
For example.
And we're 25 minutes into this debate.
Veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in
This man, all he does is appeal to emotion.
It certainly seems that way.
That's all he does. My cat is going wild. I don't know what he is doing over there.
They sense that we're watching this stupid fucking debate.
Yeah.
In France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker.
Dude, all right. This faux anger. Okay, first of all, let's fact check that because Trump never said that. Where is it? I have that pulled up too. PolitiFact, I think. Why do I have all these empty ones? Welp. I did have it pulled up. Let's see. It's on here on factcheck.org. We will use them. Okay. It is... Trump. What did he say? Losers. And...
World War II. Or World War I memorial. Or something. Who knows what he's even? Why would there be losers? Because they dead.
Suckers and losers. Okay, yeah. Here we go. Here it is, Snopes. Trump called fallen U.S. soldiers suckers and losers. This is... Oh my God! At the ads.
A lot of Kroger.
Good Lord. Did he even say? Trump and his allies have denied the accusation since it first emerged in 2020, shortly before the election. Trump and Biden, whether performative or authentic, Trump's apparent support of the soldiers of the U.S. military, both active and veteran members, have been part of his presidential campaign. Oh. Here's another Snopes. That's the same article. Okay, this is New York Times. This person says this needs context. The quotes "losers and suckers" originate from an article published in The Atlantic in 2020 about former President Donald J. Trump's relationship with the military. He continues to dispute the reports. The article relied on anonymous sources, but many of the accounts have been corroborated by news outlets, including the New York Times. And by John F. Kelly, retired 4-star Marine General, good God, who was Mr. Trump's White House Chief of Staff. Mr. Trump has emphatically... So Trump fired him before this, if I'm not mistaken.
So it's unclear whether he actually
I
said that.
saw a fact check earlier, because I had it pulled up. I don't know where it went. And it wasn't like a Fox News. I mean, it was... I swear I thought it was PolitiFact or Snopes, but I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know where it went.
You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Anyway, here's my thoughts on it. Trump knows that his base is military.
I know.
Like, I doubt very seriously that he would say that, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taking better care. I'm so glad.
That's a good point. I got to say that's a good point there. Like, who at a cemetery at a World War... I don't know. I don't know what it was. He was at a
why
a
would
memorial.
you say
Why
that?
would you say that?
I mean,
like,
Donald Trump is a scumbag in
Sure.
a lot of ways, but I doubt very
I don't
seriously
think
that he would have said
that,
something
no.
like that.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
This came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and
That's
losers,
true.
so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it. Period. That's number.
He said you said it.
Who's he looking at, by the way?
I don't know.
The podium. Okay, the podiums. He's on the right, to our perspective. He's on the right, and Trump's on the left. The moderators are in the middle. The podiums are angled this way. There is no crowd.
No.
Who's he looking at?
I don't know.
That's what I kept thinking this entire time. I'm like, and there's one time where he literally turns like all the way to the left.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Anyway, go ahead.
Number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history.
That's not true. I don't think either one of them have done more for veterans than any president in American history.
No, I don't think
now
that.
and their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right, thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy.
He just had to get the plug in there for the military-industrial complex to equip them when they go to war.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to begin with Russia.
Did you notice that too? They turned her mic off.
Yeah.
Actually, can I make a comment about the debate itself?
Yeah.
If this was a debate of substance, you would have probably seen more opportunities to actually argue policy in this setting. I actually thought
100%.
the moderators were great.
I did too.
I actually liked the.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, bring back the crowd. But the more I
I
saw
like
it,
this. I like
had this
this.
been a different, like a debate of actual substance, this would have been. Also, can you imagine if RFK was on this stage?
Oh, I know, dude.
It's criminal that they didn't let him on this. In my opinion,
it is.
They changed all the rules. They changed all this stuff that they'd done historically. Still couldn't let a viable third party, a candidate that's polling higher than what Ross Perot did.
He would have wiped the floor with both of them.
He would have destroyed them, even with his robot voice.
Yeah, he does have a robot voice.
He does.
Against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him.
Dude, let it go and just answer the question.
They think he's the
Both of them.
I know.
Both of them.
worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information.
You think they could pull his eyes back a little bit more?
I know, right?
If they did, I think if they did it much more, he'd look Asian.
He already looks like a different person.
That is not. He's had definite work done, and it doesn't look good. And also, by the way, blue background, white hair.
Yeah.
Pale as all hell.
Yeah.
Like, get the guy a tan. You don't have to put him out in the sun.
Trump don't even look orange in this.
He doesn't, actually, which is of note.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get that guy some tanner, dude,
right.
for his face. Like, make him look like he's got some life in him.
I know.
Russia and Ukraine. If we had a real president, the president that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned, and so he's got no love lost. But he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers, and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind.
That's true.
When Putin saw that, he said, you know what?
Yep.
I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business.
I thought that
with
was
him.
actually a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he's speaking Trumpese here, but he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that Iran is the common denominator in all that stuff in the Middle East.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have to admit, looking back on the Trump years, and of course, again, you had COVID come along, which interrupted everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, including international politics and wars and everything else. That being said, the minute that ISIS, decided to peek their ugly little head out of Iraq, that guy dropped the biggest non-nuclear weapon we got on him. It was like, shut up.
Yep.
And I think it works. I think that kind of policy and that kind of stance works with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong?
No, you're right. I agree.
They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything. No money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration.
We did. There was terror attacks during his administration.
This place, the whole world.
Maybe not
blowing up
domestic
under him.
terrorist attack.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran
The only reason he takes the last point first is because it's the only one he can remember.
attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing.
What is he talking
I have
about?
no idea.
Number two,
Trump told the people who were having brain injuries that they were just having headaches to go home or something.
What does that have to do with what we were just talking about?
I don't know.
And I don't even know what he's talking about.
1,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation
That's a
where
bad thing to bring up. Don't bring up the airlift, because that's what everybody had to watch, and these poor people falling
from the sky. Falling from the sky.
Why in the world would you bring that up?
Yeah.
I don't know.
If you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump
He told
did.
Trump. Who told Trump?
To Putin, encourage him. Do whatever
He
you
did
want.
to Putin.
I guess.
Putin told Trump to do whatever you want.
I guess.
Or
he told
Trump told Putin do whatever you want.
Trump do whatever you want. Biden told Trump to tell Putin to do whatever he wants.
Again, how do you... Okay.
Said
Never mind. I'm just
he was going to take
broken
Kyiv
record.
in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He didn't.
Putin has never once said he wants Kyiv.
No, I don't think that's true.
No, he doesn't.
He wants the Donbass.
And
yes.
they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump.
Again, okay. Why would you say that? We're not fighting that war. Ukraine is fighting that. No, but to them, what they're trying to sell is that's not a proxy war. We're just giving them aid. But you're actively taking credit for killing Russian soldiers.
Yeah. Yep.
Imagine if you're Russian and you watch what he just said just then.
That
we're the conclusion that you take away from that is
we're in a hot war with Russia, which I would argue we are already there.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is: are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more.
$260 billion, I think, now.
To Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country,
when Trump says it like that, he means it.
That's
a lot of money.
I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he...
So are you, Joe.
He's made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you.
I don't think he's ever said that.
That's not true. That's not true. We will fact check that, but Putin wants all of Ukraine. This is May 16th of 2024. This is according to CFR.org.
You know what you could be doing to do this?
What?
Chat GPT.
Yeah, I could. I have Copilot here. Let's see what that does. Let's use Chat GPT. Okay. Copilot. Does Putin want to invade all of?
I wouldn't even put it that way. Ask it if he has ever said that.
Has Putin ever said? I think I spelled Ukraine wrong. Russian President Vladimir Putin has not explicitly stated he wants to take all of Ukraine. However, his actions and goals during the conflict provide some insight into his intentions.
So he's never said it.
Never said it.
Okay, there we go.
Never said it.
Think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine?
These are all hypotheticals. This is irrelevant.
Right? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, and by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies.
Yes, they give them the weapons. he's saying it out loud. I mean, they give them the weapons. So the military gives them weapons, they have to buy more weapons.
Right.
So when they buy more weapons, it makes the military-industrial complex money. Imagine that. Oh, hello, Mr. Kitty. We have a special guest on tonight's live stream. A guest we've never had on a live stream. The one who ruined the last one, or tried to foil it.
Produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have
Look at him again.
Number one.
I know.
Everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward. Which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one. They're the only ones standing.
So what he's saying is step 1, collect underpants. Step 2, step 3, profit. That makes as much sense as what he just said. So step 1 is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Then step 2 is additional ceasefire. A ceasefire with conditions. And step 3, profit in the war.
Now, we're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so they're 2 different things.
What?
Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts.
Okay, I got a problem with both of them here because all we got now is just 2 old guys shilling for Israel, which I have a huge problem with.
And our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
What does that even mean?
Okay, now what is he talking about?
I have no idea. So that's the other.
Jesus.
You have a minute?
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO.
You going to stay in NATO? What does that even mean?
I think we should pull out of NATO. I don't think NATO should exist. And up until, 4 years ago, Russia wanted to join NATO. So if Russia joined NATO, would that mean NATO would cease to exist? Because NATO is literally an alliance of countries against Russian aggression and against Russia. They asked Russia, Putin himself asked to join NATO and was told no.
I told somebody this last night. Like, I do agree with why. This is another thing I'm increasingly skeptical of. Russia has been the boogeyman forever.
Since the dawn of.
We are sending weapons over to Ukraine for them to fight. No doubt about it. Mm-hmm. That makes it a lot easier for them, for sure. That doesn't mean you automatically know how to fight a war just because you got the weaponry. It certainly helps. Mm-hmm. But so far, if Putin was really serious, he's really not made. This is a disaster for him, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm just not convinced. This whole Russia, the boogeyman thing, that really it's the neocons, the warhawks, that try to push this thing on everybody.
The uniparty, the neocons, the neolibs, it's the uniparty, the warhawks on both sides.
Yes, and push this on people that Russia.
Biden's in there with them.
Russia is this boogeyman that's. I see no evidence. Would it not be better to be friends with Russia and be on good terms and good relations? But I think what that is, that's like.
Did you see the meme I posted the other day? It was the child that says, "Mom, I don't want to go to the Ukraine and die." And she said, "I'm sorry, honey. I don't like the Russian's president." That's where we're at. That's literally what you're describing.
I'm a much bigger, I will say on this issue, I'm a much bigger fan of Trump's approach.
Yeah.
In trying to because I think Trump is the type of guy that he's used to being in the room with these type of folks.
He is.
He walks in there and he's like, "What's up?"
So here's my question to Trump. Why not, he wants to end the Ukraine war diplomatically. Why not end the Palestine-Israel diplomatically?
Very true.
Why let Israel just wipe out Palestine?
And also, I mean, like it or not, that was the closest, under Donald Trump, was the closest we have ever been to getting a peace deal, a significant peace
with
deal
Abraham
done.
Accords.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No new wars.
Our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact...
He's making a major war in Europe happen.
You have Putin continue to go into NATO. We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Is he calling for nuclear war?
And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations.
I made great trade deals.
Them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything.
That's not true. That's not true. We export a lot of goods to Europe.
Yeah, we do.
For agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent.
This is a brilliant answer by him. He's like, I'm just going to not answer that at all. Instead of what I'm going to do is tell you what wasn't going on January 6th.
He almost mocks it. He belittles it so much to the point of mocking it.
January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected.
No, we weren't.
And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically.
Let's see. I have the tweet pulled up here that Trump said. Where is it? Mr. Kitty, you're making this awfully hard. I know. Are you going to start talking? Yeah. Okay, where is the tweet? Did it disappear too? I had a picture of it pulled up.
Joshua, we may have to do this in 2 parts, pal.
Yeah.
I may have to
end it here.
Run out of here in just a minute here. Don't they get to an intermission at some point? We can stop.
They don't.
I thought they took a commercial break.
They did, but this I don't know that it'll be in.
Okay,
I don't know. Maybe they did.
Yeah.
Trump did tweet to his supporters to remain peaceful. However, the meme lacks context. Okay, here's the 2 tweets. I'm asking everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. And then again, he says, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful.
But what they would say, of course, and what they've said time and time again is that he didn't do enough to stop it.
Denounce. What is he supposed to do to stop it?
And then there's also, then it comes out that there's actual FBI agency in the crowd provoking them to actually
Agent provocateurs, of course. Right.
And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down.
I do have this pulled up, and she did say that. It was on tape. Here it is. Oh.
Terry, we have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
She called them off.
They had sufficient resources. That is not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
She did say that.
She said it.
What time is it? 10:36. What time you need to leave by?
Let's end it.
End it.
10:45.
Okay. All right.
So
We'll go for a few more minutes.
And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down. The mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see. I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
We just watched that.
Yeah.
So we'll end it there, and we'll have a few more. We'll share our thoughts real quick before you go.
Sure.
So all in all, we're
back on just us.
Yeah. We're just almost into into halfway here. It's man, what a disaster. What a disaster.
It's crazy.
It is. What a disaster for Biden. This was a Trump win. This is a win for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Love him or hate him, this was a win for him. I don't know. What do you think? You think they're going to actually roll somebody different out?
Well, okay. So that was all the spin, and he gets marginally better as it goes on, and we'll watch the rest of it.
I think he gets worse.
He got marginally better. There was a couple of somewhat coherent statements, but I mean, the left is in complete freak out mode,
as they should be.
Right, as they should be.
As they should be.
Number one, you should have saw this coming.
Yep.
It was pretty obvious, glaringly obvious to anybody that's paying attention, and you
Yep.
willfully ignored that.
Yep.
I guess the question is, number one, the only way, see, the delegates are already in place.
Right.
So the only way to actually get him off the ticket is for him to step down, and then you've got the problem of Kamala Harris.
Exactly.
And so what are you going to do? Are you going to say to a woman of color, of which you're the party that...
Of inclusion.
And...
Of equity, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Yes.
You're the DEI party.
You're the DEI party, and
Right.
you're going to say, sorry, you're not good enough, which she's not.
No, it has nothing to do with,
be an abject,
with her gender or race.
No, she's just not
she's
a great,
terrible person.
Yeah, she's a terrible person and even more terrible politician.
Yeah.
And when she speaks, everything goes. Her defense. We should do a whole video on just her defense of that debate.
Oh, I know.
Performance last
I
night
know.
was incredible.
It was.
It was absolutely incredible. I guess the next question after that is if you can somehow convince both of them to step down in one, that they both just completely bow out. What do you do with that? Do you bring in Gavin Newsom, the whitest white guy of all time?
Well, and he's a terrible person too. You had
And
all
who
the
also
COVID.
has a terrible track
Yeah.
record in California.
All the COVID nonsense he engaged in of telling people, locking down the state and then going out and having private dinner parties in restaurants and all the shit he was doing. So it's like,
Did you see the clip where one of the politicians on, I think it was either CNN or MSNBC, called Michelle Obama Big Mike by accident?
No.
Yeah, I sent that in. We'll have to pull that up for the next time. But yeah, maybe Big Mike to the
Wow.
rescue is the only thing I can think that actually is viable here. You know what I mean?
I think my cat over there eating the fake grass
Right.
is a better choice
Yeah.
than anything that the Democrats have put up. And that's the thing. If
I guess the real
Democrats
question is, who do they have to put up?
No one.
If they get him out, who do they have to put up?
No one, not a soul.
And knowing what I know about Joe Biden, I can tell you right now, I don't think that he's going to willfully step down.
No, he won't. He won't.
I just don't think so. That's what I was telling Dakota today. Me and him were talking about it. I'm like, you weren't alive to see the Joe Biden coherent era.
Right.
But I remember Joe Biden from way back. This guy, if there's any shred of that person left in that Weekend at Bernie's-esque body that we saw standing up there, he's not the kind of guy to step aside at all.
Did you see? Well, we'll do it on the next one. But
yeah.
the after the debate, when Trump walks off and then Biden has to have Jill and somebody else come and
help him down the stairs.
And then after the debate, she was like, "Joe, you did such a great job. You answered all the questions." And he just smiled like a kid that gets ice cream after answering the questions.
It's insane.
It is. It is insane. I did see something, though, that piqued my interest a little bit. I saw a video of backstage Trump, and there was one person front and center there waiting on him backstage that I thought was very interesting.
Who's that?
Vivek Ramaswamy was with him. And I often wonder if that is going to be his running mate.
Wouldn't doubt it. I don't hate Vivek.
No. Nope. I don't either. Man, what is Lyft going to do when they run a brown person in the Republican Party?
I don't know.
Oh,
an actual
right.
brown person.
Yes.
Man, a lot of interesting politics to come here, and I don't love talking politics, but a lot of if you're in the political world, last night could have made this thing so much more interesting to watch. Because what are the Dems going to do? Are they going to get Biden out? Can they get Biden out? Who are they going to put up if they do? And then you got who is Trump's running mate? Because right now, as it stands right now, if it's Joe Biden and Donald Trump right this second, Donald Trump wins in a landslide, period. What do the Dems do if they can't? If they have to run Joe Biden, what do? Do they pivot to the House and Senate races? Do they pivot to 2028? What do they do?
I don't know.
I don't know what you do in a situation like this. It's kind of unprecedented.
It is. Well, before we go, I want to switch gears for just a minute and say Julian Assange is home.
Yes.
That made me so incredibly happy.
That's great news.
So incredibly happy.
I mean, he had to plead guilty to some bullshit charge or whatever, which pisses me off. But
he did. But, at some point you got to pick your battles. And, man, I'm still very sour at Trump for not pardoning him.
Yeah, that was low hanging fruit that could have been done.
Yep.
Easily.
I'm very sour about that. Well, we'll end it there. Everybody, please like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do. You hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you a thing. It helps us out tremendously. We're this close to getting monetized. You can go become a member and help support what we do here on our Patreon. Patreon.com/The World Unwrapped. Chase, final thoughts?
Thanks, everybody, for watching. Alex, appreciate you participating, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex.
This is awesome. What a night.